Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Rob Geronimo from Alternative Comics Blood Realm. How you doing, Rob?
Great. Greetings, travelers. Good to see everybody, and thank you for having me, John.
Yeah, there's the voice. There's the voice. I don't know what it is, but Alternative Comics has some of my best comics, and the alternate creators have like the best voices. Like Rob, you got this like you could be a radio announcer voice, and Fabrizio, he has this like NPR, like yes, the manatee is a wild animal that can be found, and then Brian just has like a spooky house. I'm gonna narrate a horror movie,
Nice. That's
you guys
great.
got great voices.
I hope now Fabrizio has a manatee now in his story because now I need him to say
Issue
that.
4 of Horace H. He fights a man.
Yeah, he fights a giant manatee that floats in the air. That's a pretty cool idea, though.
Yep. Oh, he could fight Mamarius.
Ah, that's right.
So, for those of you who don't know, Rob Geronimo, he's been on the channel before. He's the writer, creator of Maniac behind Blood Realm. And I've been watching his. You've been doing the most insane drawings for the past month or so.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, developing the YouTube channel, doing the draw streams. The chat is great. John, you're in there, and it's hilarious. We have great discussions, though. We do.
The milk must flow. It's already starting.
There you go, Paul. Good to see you, Paul.
Well, I got to say, my favorite conversation so far in your stream was when I was joking around about like, because the camera is super tight on this little like index card that you're painting on.
Yeah.
And I was joking that it's a coffin, and if you pull back, you'd see all the bodies. And then you brought up an artist that actually did that.
Artist that what did I say? I forgot
that he had bodies and corpses, and he did that painting of the people on the raft starving.
Yes, the raft of Jericho, right? That
right, that's it.
No, the raft of Medusa. Jericho was the painter. Sorry, yes, to get the accuracy right of what these people went through on this raft, he studied corpses.
Right,
they were cadavers of prisoners that were executed. He'd bring them back to his studio. And you could look up the studies. And
I did. After you talked about it, I was like, "Oh God, this sounds like a movie that has not yet been made that should be made."
Right, I know. Sacred Geek, hello, Sacred Geek. Let's see. Maybe if I could share something on Twitter. He said he wants to see some Geronimo art. Let's see what we got here for him. My YouTube channel is Geronimo Draws. If you're curious. It's been a lot of fun doing those live streams. It's been great. It's important to slowly develop the YouTube channel now more than ever. I have to say, it's the best way to connect with the readers.
And you're good at it. You could draw, and you could paint, and you could engage in conversation. You're pretty good at dividing your multitasking. And Sacred Greek, yes. This is not pre-recorded. This is live right now. Yes, it was my sister's funeral today, and that's why I'm still in a nice shirt rather than a comic book shirt. But I told Rob we would do it, and I don't like to break promises. I didn't want to reschedule, so
Yeah, he was persistent. He wanted to do it, and here we are.
At the end of the day,
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Talking about corpses and cannibalism and all this fun stuff. Oh, you want me to put up this image?
Yeah, just so we could give him a little taste. This is a sketch card I did.
That's awesome.
A popular one right now. It looks like people want this character in Blood Realm. I kind of did a werewolf meets one of the cleric knights in Blood Realm, and I'm going to work this in. I'm definitely going to work this into the series. So this is stuff that I draw live. These are sketch cards, and then every sketch card that I draw live on the channel goes up for sale. It's like a first come, first serve kind of deal. I give a secret perk link on an Indiegogo campaign, and that's it. Whoever gets it first gets it. And I have to say, I'm so fortunate to have such incredible viewers and readers that they've been really helping as well, keeping this channel going that I'm doing and these draw streams going.
And it's fun the supplies because sometimes it's like the story develops through the chat.
Yes.
It's
great, because I'm developing, the pantheon of gods for the Blood Realm universe, and I'm kind of come up names, and they're really seeing it right there. Oh, gotta dig wolves among sheep. That's right. And it's all happening real time. Like they're witnessing the process of me trying to figure out how these creatures are going to look and their backstory. And sometimes they give great little feedback. So it's interesting because it kind of creates a new dynamic for the readers because now they're going to see the creation, the genesis of these characters, and then they're going to read them in the comic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Some guy screaming in the park. I helped create that character. Okay, Grandpa.
I told him the horn was crooked. He needed to turn the horn.
What I like is when you're drawing, I'm like, okay, like you start out with like some sort of pencil and then you go over it, and then I'm like, oh, he just messed that up. He's never gonna recall. Oh, looks great. Like
I appreciate that.
You the other day you made some zombie and you put like this white wash over it, and I was like, man, he just messed that up. That is destroyed. This is embarrassing. Oh, looks great.
Now, don't kid yourself. I get a couple of those moments where I was like, okay, now I got to doctor this up good. But fortunately, it forces me. There you go, Metatron's Cube. Feeler hairs and pustules.
Pustules, yeah.
Yeah.
That was also a Lovecraft story, right?
Oh, sounds like it. A love story, yes. Here's that image, by the way, that John's talking about. I have it right here, actually, ready to go.
Love story, even if it's offer a different perspective.
That's right.
Oh, yes,
this is the zombie
that's exactly
one. Yeah.
What I was talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to point to my screen like the people can see what I'm talking about. But you see the white on the face and the arms. When you first put that on, I was like, it looked like you poured milk all over it. I'm like, he just it looks great. It looks great. It made a good texture over it.
Yeah, it does, right? Because now that's the thing. It's like I did a light wash so we could kind of use the color of the card to kind of like be a pigment almost, to kind of like look like some type of flesh tone. So yeah, it's been great because these are official Blood Realm cards. And well, I don't know, once I got these, it's like something awakened in me. I was like, wow, these are my cards, official custom cards that say Blood Realm. It just made it feel so, I don't know.
And they're unique. Once you put them up, it's that's it.
That's it. Exactly. So
how do you ship them? Do you put them in like a little plastic,
Yeah, I have. I actually I put a little. It's like a little covering, and then I put one of those on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got it.
Yeah. Then I do one of those. Very nice.
This throttle is a troublemaker. You know how many times she just I swear to God, in the middle of the night she runs away and hides. I must have lost that like 6 times. Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So I always like to say that each video is somebody's first. I'm seeing names for the first time. I don't know if you recognize them. So what is the Blood Realm?
Sure. What is Blood Realm? Well, it's a dark fantasy horror series that's very much inspired by history. It's inspired by mythology. It's inspired by religion. And it's this big epic war between all of these factions that are trying to vie for power and fight for power of the lands of Mordrin. So we have human races. We have a race of humans. We have a race of goat creatures called Satrians that live in the south. I have a whole map of the whole world.
Yeah, I ordered the map. I can't wait to get
I know. I'm waiting for, I don't know if you saw Pete announced that issue 13, because you had ordered a copy of issue 13 signed. They're being printed and then they'll be coming. So once I get that, I'm going to ship everything out to you. Yeah. So then there's a race of mages up north, and all of them the stories take place in different periods, and it's just this constant struggle for the lands of Mordrin. And
it's not a pleasant place. It's not a fantasy land you want to live in.
There's monsters, there's sorcery, all sorts of things, but there's like these timeless themes that we've always recognized, from even like the Iliad, Homer's Odyssey, Dante's Inferno, all of this, the great literature. So it's stuff that always inspired me when I was young, to make stories and to kind of have my own playground and universe where I could put my characters and put them through hell.
It's funny because last time you were on, we were talking, and I asked you, how you doing, Chris Beats? New name? Love to see new names. Yeah. I asked you, and I was amazed at the answer. I was like, you've got to be a D&D kid. You've got to be the GM with binders and notes and making up. And you're like, no, I never played. And I was
never played.
I was like, nah, come on, stop lying to me. What do you mean you never played?
Never played. No, never played. I was just doing that stuff anyway. But like without a game, I was just making tomes when I was a kid.
Right.
It's funny because sometimes you go through doubts and you're like, is this what I should be doing? This is a couple like years ago. And then recently I was going through some of my old boxes of stuff because I was moving out of my apartment, and I saw drawings I did when I was a kid from like 10, 12, and I was like, holy smokes. And I said this on the stream. I've been doing this my whole life. This is what I have to do. I have to fully embrace this. Why am I trying to figure out, oh, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should just, no. This is what I'm meant to be doing. Comics, 1000%. And it could have been more clear. The answer was there from the get-go,
It's funny that you said that because, I moved into this house a couple of years ago and I've been working on it. And now I got the basement where I got to start working upstairs soon, but I got the basement to where I wanted to be. And I took everything out of storage and I found a box of comics that I made in 4th grade, with my 2 friends, and I'm like, I think I'm going to do a video on my old comics, just pretend, here you go. This, and they were comedy, it was parodies. We did like I tried to do a Mad magazine. I can't find the serious comics though. That would have been funny because my serious comics were just guys executing bad guys and knives and swords. You know what I mean? I invented Blood Realm before Blood Realm.
Oh boy, that's fighting words.
Yeah, well, so it's funny that you said you found some old and Brian Bow just moved across the country, and he said he's going through old boxes and he found drawings from when he was a little kid.
Yeah, and it goes to show you the passion for comics has always been there. It has always been there.
So let me ask you, at what point did you just like get your comics and you're like, this is it? I'm into comics.
Yeah, I have to say, don't spoil the comics when you do your review.
For my comics?
Yeah.
I'm talking about comics I did when I was in 4th grade. They're ruined already. They're terrible.
Hello, Eddie.
Canceled for some of the humor. Back in 4th grade, humor wasn't.
I'm sure it's still good and hasn't aged a bit.
Oh, yeah. So at one point in your life, there was Rob Geronimo who never read a comic, and then there was a point where Rob Geronimo was like, "I'm reading comics." Like, what got you in? What hooked you?
It was the fact that these felt like living pictures. Like they were moving pictures. It wasn't a film. It was different. And it felt like every comic that I opened, it felt like anything was possible. I could go into the far reaches of space and see all of these different creatures. I could see dinosaurs. I can see superheroes. I could see World War II.
Sometimes in the same comic.
Sometimes in the same comic.
Yeah.
Exactly. The possibilities were limitless. And, we say this because it's not like a movie where there's a budget. It's like, nope, you're over the budget. You can't do that. Anything is possible. Any story you want to tell, you can fully bring it to life. And it's different than reading, a novel. And I enjoy reading. But,
I'm a big reader also. Yeah.
But with comics, it was different. It just, for me, it felt like the complete amalgam, the perfect amalgam of visual and writing all together. The imagination personified in a way.
Yeah, that's a good.
That's what it felt like.
That's a good catchprise for comics. Imagine, the comic industry as a whole should just imagination personified. You know what I mean? So, that would be that is excellent. I remember talk with friends and and coworkers, and when the first Terminator 2 came out. Remember that was a big deal, Terminator 2, and he's stretching and absorbing everything in there. And I was like, Jack Kirby did this 30 years ago.
Exactly.
Did it there. You show me anything that's cool in a movie, and I'll show you the comic that imagines it.
In there.
Yeah, 20, 30 years. And I wasn't taking anything away from T2. I thought
no.
But I was just saying this is why people like comics, because I forget what was his name. I forget the guy's name who directed Cameron, right?
Cameron
probably imagined this thing 10, 20 years ago, but he just couldn't do it because of limitations.
Maybe.
Jack Kirby thought of it and was able to do it because
he could draw it.
Yep. Sacred Geek agrees. Comics always did it first. Comics
That's right, Sacred Geek.
And for the most part, they always did it better.
That's right. So that was it, and I'm not exaggerating. It was from that moment on. I would even write when I was a kid. Uh, in like fifth grade, they would say, "What do you want to be when you're older?" I would write comic book artist. I was just. It was never. Nothing was more clear. But then as you get older, you hear the little voices in your head. You hear the self doubt. You hear people tell you this is
You got to
terrible and
grow
all
up.
that stuff. Yeah, you got to grow up,
You got to
and
grow up.
then
How are you going to get medical benefits?
Right, right, exactly. Which, granted, I understand, but at the same time, doesn't mean I need to give up my passion for making comics. And every time I tried to do something else, you know, everything was like something doesn't feel right. Something feels empty. I don't feel complete. But once I make comics, I feel complete.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. Whether that's a calling is up to you to decide. You know what I mean?
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
cheaper than therapy.
Especially for me. Exactly.
So,
1,000%.
knowing Blood Realm and the horrific monsters that you would envision. Were you into horror comics as a kid?
I was. It wasn't well. I always loved reading Conan the Barbarian comics. I always loved that stuff. I loved fantasy. And I have to say, I always did love fantasy. And even as a kid, I loved watching Clash of the Titans. I even loved those big epic biblical films like Ben-Hur. I always
Yeah.
loved those movies.
Yeah, me too.
It felt
Ten
like even
Commandments.
Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
Even Conan the Barbarian, even
Oh, the first
Conan the
Conan the
Destroyer.
Barbarian movie is amazing. I just watched that like 2
Amazing.
years ago because I was like, does that still hold up? It still holds up.
Oh, it does.
It's
Oh, it
awesome.
does. Yeah, I went on like a full binge because I tell my viewers sometimes whenever I'm into something, I just binge it till I'm tired of it. I had Conan the Barbarian on for like a week. That was it. That was the movie that I would put on when I'd be working that week and not getting tired of it. That was it. Replaying it again. It's just there's certain films like that just do that for me.
I remember my older brother took me to go see that, and we were just like amazed. I came home, I was drawing like he was showing me who Frazetta was and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My oldest brother was all into like Frazetta and like cars and stuff like that. And then my second oldest brother was into horror. So like
Right.
I guess I got into comics because that was my thing.
Sure.
Your own thing. So
I did. Horror was big, but like when I think of horror, it didn't come. It's funny when you think about it. The superhero I gravitated the most to when I was younger, and when I was really getting into comics, I was getting a little bit older. Was Spawn. I always loved the dark
that makes sense.
nature of Spawn. Right.
Yeah,
so there you go. So I guess. Yeah. Right. So I guess you're right. I guess horror comics, kind of. I guess with Spawn. But then later on, I would. Contemplate this on the tree of woe. Such a great lines in that film.
I went to school in Albuquerque, and while I was going to school, I got a job at a preschool. So we had I had a group of 2 to 3 year olds, and they were great. I love these kids, and I was the only guy teacher, so I was the boy teacher, and I'm outside playing with them. We were playing ball. It was all old ladies and then me. And we had, but it was all sand. It was all Albuquerque. It was basically desert.
Your kids. Now we're going to watch Conan the Barbarian.
I'm getting to it. So,
oh no.
The only rule was you couldn't throw sand because it would get in the kids' eyes, and the old ladies were big on that. Don't throw sand at other kids. Don't throw sand, but we were playing ball and stuff but every once in a while, a kid would just pick up sand and just whip it, and it would get into somebody's eyes and it would hurt. It was really bad. So it was like there were a bunch of hippies. Just don't throw sand. We're pretty cool. Just don't throw sand. So this one little kid, man, Cody. His name was Cody. The little blonde kid. He looked like Matthew McConaughey at 2 years old. And he had a brace, so he had this limp, so he walked like John Wayne. He was this cool little kid, and something pissed him off, and he threw sand into another kid's eye. And I was like, Cody, you can't throw sand. Now contemplate your actions on the bench of woe. We had this big tree and a park bench, and he sits down, and he's just sitting with that cute little blonde Matthew McConaughey, and his mother
Yeah.
came. His mother was cool. She was a local postman, so she would come dressed up as a postman.
And she
And
found
she's
him
like,
tied
"What's
to a
wrong?" I was
tree.
like, he threw sand, and she's like, "Oh," like everybody knows that's the only rule. So she walked up to him. She's like, "Cody, what are you doing?" He goes, "I'm
Exactly,
contemplating
Paul.
my actions on the bench of woe."
Nice.
It was my proudest moment as a teacher.
Amazing. Paul, you're right. Time to push the wheel of pain, Cody.
But it was funny because all the other teachers, they didn't even know where it came from, but that became the
Sure.
bench of woe.
Oh my God, that's great. That
So-
is fantastic. Fantastic. It's a great film. It really
Yeah, it's
is.
a great film. Great film.
Great
Yeah.
film. So
And
movies
Conan's
like
making
that.
a resurgence now. It seems like, there's Conan comics, there's Barbarian comics coming out again. And I never read Conan as a kid. I read
Right.
a couple of Conan stories as an adult, like last year, and now I'm
Right.
reading the Conan comics. They're excellent.
Yeah, Conan, and what was the other one? Cull. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah,
I
have
still
a
haven't read
collection of-
Cull yet. I got to read some
I,
Cull.
I really like Cull. I believe I have the Chuck Dixon stories. Those are the ones I love. Coincidentally, when I saw who the writer was, I was like, "Oh, Chuck Dixon." You just had him on your show,
Yeah,
didn't you?
he was on yesterday, and coincidentally, he has 2 Conan novels out and the third coming out.
Wow.
And on Kickstarter right now, I just put the link in. I want Chuck to make as much money as possible. There's a role playing game based on his Conan novels.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, I
Yeah.
like that.
So
That's nice.
you are an art history professor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
joking because I was just driving from New Jersey to where I live in Suffolk. I was like, Ron Geronimo lives around here. Maybe I'll do the live chat from his house. just knock on the door, show up, put some
Yeah,
extra pasta
love it.
fazool on the pot.
There's not enough for John.
Oh, there's never enough for me. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, I love art history. I love teaching. More so, it's almost selfish. Yes, I agree, Sacred Geek. The Cull movie does not
I
hold up.
didn't see the Cull.
unfortunately.
There's a
agree.
Cull movie. I gotta
Yeah,
go check
so-
it out.
No,
I'm sure
no,
it's
you
real
don't have. 'Cause I would. I don't know about that. But yeah, no, history. I have to say, it's a little bit selfish for me because when I do the class, as much as I love talking about it and teaching it, it's great research for every different volume I'm working on for Blood Realm.
Yeah.
So it forces me to get back in to the history, to all that research, and I love doing research, but it forces me to really get into it because you have to know it well enough to teach it. There's a certain thing. It's one thing to know it, but to really teach it to people and to be able to answer questions about it, because there's always questions that are going to come that challenge you. Every year you get more and more equipped for this stuff. So it's been really fueling the writing and fueling the world of Blood Realm more and more and more. So it's perfect because it's like they're together. Although they're two different jobs, they're very much tied together. The two things that I do.
And they complement each other. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I imagine a student in your class. This isn't an elective. They're there because they want to be there. Not. It is an elective, is what I meant. It's not one of those like you have to take a history 101 and you get kids like I hate this. I imagine kids in your class are really interested.
No.
No.
No,
Really?
no. I have 60 kids in every class, and
Oh.
yeah, so they have to take the art history class.
Okay.
But I convert. I convert them to love history, and I'm not going to get all of them, but I will say a great majority of them end up walking away with a brand new appreciation for history.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm not going to brag, but I am a lively professor. I don't read from my notes because I know this stuff very well. And because of that, I always wanted to be the opposite of professors that I did not connect with. And most of them would sit there with a book on the little, what do you call the
Podium.
lectern or whatever? Yeah, podium. And they would just keep their head down and read. They may be experts in this stuff, but they clearly could not speak. And it drove me crazy. You mean to tell me you write all these books about some of this incredible stuff and you can't communicate this in person? And that drove me nuts. It drove me nuts.
100%. I remember I had a professor. I was all excited. I was taking the French Revolution. For those of you who don't know, I'm also a history major. I wanted to be a college professor. I taught school for a couple of years. So, I never made it to teach college. That was my goal, but life gets in the way. And I remember taking a class on the French Revolution, and this teacher was the worst. He was mean. He was combative. He was dull. He just stood up, like you said, with head down in the book. You raised your hand until you put your hand down because your arm was tired. And I was the guy who wanted to be in that class, you know. And so what I did was I had like a 3-hour gap, and there was another. You know, the first semester I passed this class, but the second semester I took another class, and I had a 3-hour gap, and I knew that there was one teacher that everybody loved. So I just asked him, I told him, I said, I'm going to learn this. I don't feel I learned. Can I just sit in your class? And he was like, yeah, but you have to take the test. I said, you got it. So I wasn't even in his class, and I'm raising questions and answering. And I remember one girl comes up to me. He's like, oh, wow, you really know this guy. And I was like, helping him out. And then it's funny. I go, here I am helping you, and I'm not even in this class. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I took it last semester. I'm just taking it again. So, and I'll never forget, she made a face, and she never talked to me again. You nerd.
No, they don't understand. They don't understand.
It was great. Until this day, I can still teach a lecture. It's been, I don't know, 30 years since that class. I can still teach a lecture on the French Revolution.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. No, it's I feel like, unfortunately, in order to teach, there should be like a public speaking requirement proficiency.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, oh man, I've had great professors. I've had really bad professors, and you know, I worked very hard to try and not be one of those. But I have to say, one of the greatest compliments I can get, you know, is that really always makes me happy is when, after a class or after a semester, some of the students will say, "Just so you know, Professor, I was so fascinated by this particular period." And it's what's really interesting. Every period connects with different people, and sometimes the period in art you think won't connect with a certain group does, and you're just like, "That's what you liked." And then they're going, "Oh yeah, and I'm going to go study abroad, you know, in Rome because I want to see all this art."
I tried to study a few broads in college, but you know.
It's a lifetime studying broads. A lifetime of trying to understand. Nice, John. So yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
I had a high school teacher. I'll never forget. He was my European history high school teacher. This is when I was always interested. And again, just like you, I was always interested in comics. I was always interested in history. You know, I remember talking like, you know, that meme that was a couple of weeks ago. How many times a day do you think about the Roman Empire? It's like, well,
my God,
I have a degree in Roman history. I think about the Roman. I don't think about it enough. You know, I feel like I'm forgetting about it.
I was cracking up because what was great is that we were in the middle when that was going viral in the semester this fall. We were literally knee deep in the Roman Empire sections. And I always go more. We do like 2 weeks, almost 2.5 in the Roman. This is so much to talk about. And it's amazing how everyone is just so floored and the imagination is going wild. People just can't believe it, you know, that this stuff existed, even Egyptian art too. And it was just so funny because I was like, well, congratulations. Now you all can say that because prior to this class, you probably didn't think about the Roman Empire. Right. But now you're going to think about it all the time. And you're going to see it everywhere you go.
Yeah. I say that in high school, I had this one teacher. Granted, he was like good looking. He looked like Sylvester Stallone. He was this good looking, and he always wore a suit. And
same, I do too.
And he just said, "Yeah, this was high school. All my other high school teachers look like bums, you know."
Oh, he was a high school teacher. That's right.
Yeah, this was a high school. And he just said, "Put your books down. Just listen to the greatest story ever told. That story is called history." And he just told it like a storyteller. Like the only thing missing was like a Gandalf hat and the pipe. You know, and he just told stories, and then, you know, after at the end, like the last 10 minutes, okay, you got to write down these notes, you got to write down these dates. This is important stuff to. But I, you know, I remembered these stories that he told. You know, and it was high school, so we did Rome, we did Greece, we did England, and you know, it was you know how high school is, everything's compressed. But I always loved that class. I always thought of him, you know, and then I went to college thinking, wait, we're all going to sit around a globe and talk about it. And then I got my first teacher right up. He was just like, okay, class, no talking, like Mr. Hand, locking the door, and then lectured at us. And it was excruciating. You know, I
Oh
was so
my
like, oh
goodness.
man, this is college. This is college.
That's disappointing. That's disappointing. Yeah, unfortunately, like I said, a teacher could make or break.
Yep.
Teacher can make or break your passion or interest in a subject.
I
And
remember I had one professor, astronomy 101, and it was at Stony Brook University. And like you said, there was like 300 kids in the class. It was the auditorium, and this teacher just, I felt like Carl Sagan was my professor. He goes, I prefer to call this class Math for Poets. And he would just talk about the start, and he had a slideshow behind him. I mean, if you were into smoking pot, this would have been the greatest. And I remember the first test came, and my buddy Jeff wasn't in the class. He just came with me because he heard me talking about it. We both got 100s. He wasn't even in the class. And I remember that some other girl was like, "You got 100 in this class?" I'm like, she goes, "This is the most difficult class I've ever been." I didn't think of it, but I was just like, "What are you, crazy? This is like the greatest class." Like I should have been like, "Oh, I'll help you," but again,
no,
it wasn't too smooth back then. But I insulted her, like, "What are you, crazy? This class is easy. What are you, a moron?"
She wouldn't have been your type. She wouldn't have been your type, John. She don't like that stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like you said, so it's great to have some college, because I had my share of college professors that were killed any enthusiasm I had for a subject.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible.
My wife is making me coffee. She knew I just drove for like 4 hours. Sugar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But that's
you have kids that are actually like that. This has anybody been like, this is my favorite class now? I'm thinking of like an art major or anything.
Now, they never go to full-blown art major, but maybe they'll say, you know what, I think I'm going to minor in art history.
Oh, okay.
And it's just tough because, I know that there's other professors that are my colleagues that may not be as enthusiastic as me. I always get worried that they're going to take that class and go, wow, why did I do this? But
yeah,
some good ones in there. It's just, you can't help who they're going to get. So I could give recommendations to them, but we'll see.
Yeah. Stay away from this guy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I remember that too in my college. They were like, there was two guys that are teaching French Revolution history, and you don't want this one. And,
yeah.
Stupid me. I'm stupid late walking down to the register. Oh,
you took that one.
I had to. Yeah. A history major. I had to take it.
Yeah, sure. But it's like your teacher said, it's the greatest story ever told.
It is,
history.
I love talking about history to the point where, I switched careers. I'm a construction worker now. I'm like the most educated guy in it right now, and
I'm sure.
I just feel like I'm losing it. Like I used to read textbooks. I get my copy of Herodotus and just read it for pleasure during the summer vacation.
Yeah.
And now it's like I come home, I'm tired. I'm like, I'm just gonna read a comic. Not that there's anything wrong with comics. You know how I all feel about comics.
Well, hey, listen, you ended up getting that Alexander the Great comic that I recommended.
Yeah, it was good. Wasn't John Buscema?
It wasn't?
No, it's not John Buscema. I forget the guy's name. I was gonna zing you on it, but today was a crazy day. It wasn't John Buscema. No.
I was told it was,
but it was still excellent. I did a video on it and everything. It was
really?
I loved it. I loved it. That to me that should be given to like junior high school kids. This is Alexander the Great. It's a good first step. They did a really good job. Did you read Age of Bronze?
Which one?
Age of Bronze. Age of Bronze.
No. I didn't get to read it yet. I have it. You
got it. Yeah. I'm curious what you think about that. For those of you who don't know, Age of Bronze is a historical version of the Trojan War, even though we don't know of it, the history, but the author tried to make it as historical as possible. And the last couple of pages in every comics are texts and articles and where he got this information from, and like trying to decipher linear beat. It's a great comic.
Can't wait.
Of course, it didn't sell that well.
Right.
I think 33 issues came out, and then it's only on webs, and I think he'll collect it sooner or later if he gets back.
Okay, I see. No, it was really cool. Really cool. I can't wait to read it. Looks great.
So when you went to college, were you a history major or an art major?
I was art major and an art history major. Those were the two, because I never took an art history class. I always loved history, but when I found that major where I'm like, wow, you mean I could write about art and learn about the history of the world through the art we make? I was like, this is cool. And that was it. And ever since then, I was obsessed. obsessed with it.
What's your favorite period of art?
Oh boy,
Or did I just put you on the spot?
it's hard. It's really hard. Oh my goodness. I have to say, I love it all, obviously,
Yeah.
but Rome is like entering real life fantasy. Like it's your brain can't wrap around that this stuff really happened. It's very difficult, and it's so unbelievable, but it is believable and real. So that alone, right? But then I love the Baroque. The Baroque is amazing because I love the painter Caravaggio, where he started to depict these really intense, dark, light and dark shadows and depictions of mostly biblical scenes, and they're very intense. And there's an emphasis on the violence. And he was a fascinating figure. He was a murderer himself, and he ended
Oh,
up
okay.
being chased to the end of his days by authorities. So he died young, but the art he made was really incredible, and it's one of my favorites. And the sculptor Bernini is also part of the Baroque period. So those two periods are like,
Oh,
mm,
yeah.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I,
And I love medieval too, though. I love
I'm
it all.
the farther away we get from this time, the more fascinated I am.
It's
Like
true. And
I had a buddy that's as much as I'm into Rome and Greece, he's into the Civil War, and all I could do is
mhm,
listen to him. Like I think I know, without bragging, maybe more so than the average bear, but I'm by
right,
no means a Civil War buff. But
sure,
this guy
sure.
can tell you like what happened on different days and what led up to it and everything, and I find
Wow.
that fascinating. But I don't know, like Roman battles, listen to the tactics that they made, like the everyday life in Rome.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to. Oh, where's this book? Again, here we go, right here. I just got this. Insane Emperor Sunken Cities and Earthquake Machines.
Whoa, what's that?
It's
I don't know
it's
that.
it just came out, and now there's a second volume, and it's more frequently asked questions about the ancient Greeks and Romans. So it's
Ooh,
just a Roman and Greek historian that got. I don't think he got tired, but he was just like, "Hey, people are interested in this." So he took the most common questions about and it's written in plain English with comedy, and that with the liner notes, like it's a scholarly work, but it's this is kind of
nice.
like, did the ancient drinks did they drink beer, did they use drugs, did they have taboos, newspapers, it's
Ah.
like almost like the day in the average person in Rome, it's
Well, that's the crazy thing is what, whenever we get to that period, right, in my class, everyone is so floored because you're looking at stuff that's like 2,000 years old and you're like, wait a minute, we do that. Oh, you mean like, oh, we do that because of them.
yeah,
That's really crazy. Like if you look at like the ruined cities of Ostia in Rome, right? And literally it's one of the most well-preserved ancient cities in Rome, and you're really stepping back in time into the day in the life of what like a block was in Rome. And they would have a bakery, they would
right,
have like a fast food place, kind of like they would have stuff where you would come in, sometimes stools inside, and I mean you would have so like restaurants in a way,
right. the,
and
the
then
husband would stop at the bar before coming home,
exactly, yeah, like it's just so crazy. And you're looking at this and you're just like, this looks like a block you would have in a major city. And it's kind of surreal when you see these things and you realize like, oh, concrete. Oh, they invented
They
concrete.
invented it. Yeah, and they got
Got it.
aqueducts that are still standing up.
Yes,
And
yes.
my,
And it's
my
like,
government can't
okay.
fix the potholes on the Long Island Expressway. That our property taxes are going up every year, and the Romans
Exactly.
aqueducts.
Exactly. Hey, Felix, what's going on? Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Felix.
So,
And when
yeah,
like all the legal the systems of law represent. I mean, we have a Senate, we have a Congress. We don't have
100%.
an emperor, we have a president. To the point where
Right.
if you go to the Smithsonian, there's a statue of
Almost the
George
same thing.
Washington in a toga.
All of
That's
them.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting. You look at the Pantheon, you look at the architecture, and everything is screaming back to Rome. Oh yeah, excellent series, Eddie's
I
game.
love this
Oh,
show. Yeah, and it wasn't
canceled
canceled
too
too
soon.
soon. That they planned on it ending when
Oh,
Cleopatra.
I thought they were planning it for. I had read that they had planned to do the whole entire Julian dynasty.
Oh,
until the
really?
end of
Oh, okay.
to
Well,
Nero.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm lying. I don't know.
No, no,
That's what I thought.
that's what I had read.
Same with
Maybe I was
Deadwood.
wrong, but
Deadwood was supposed to have one more season. It was supposed to Deadwood was supposed to end with it becoming a state, or a territory.
right.
Yeah, that was a good series.
But Rome is.
Yeah, I loved Rome. I bought the DVDs.
Yeah, check it out, guys, if you haven't. If you're interested in like a good representation of Rome.
The two main characters who know they're fictional, but the grand history is real. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
They're like Forrest Gump walking through all
the walking through history and going through and encountering all these figures. Right. And all of that is important when I create the universe of Blood Realm. Because the mages are the most powerful force in the entire universe in Blood Realm, and then they enslave the humans. And it's kind of like the similar thing that we would see in ancient Rome and ancient Greece, because Greece conquered that region, and the people in Rome, right, was so fascinated with their conquerors and the way they did things and their architecture. Alexander the Great. I mean, every Caesar at a point, every emperor would go and pay homage to Alexander the Great's tomb. So it's this shadow of Alexander just looming and hovering over every emperor. So all this stuff plays, and I use this as inspiration to develop and enrich the world of Blood Realm and the relationship between these mages, who are almost like this interesting, almost like bat-like type of humanoid.
Yeah, you have problems. Is the only is the only way to describe it. The images that come out of your head and onto the paper. Yeah.
Isn't it better that it's on the page, though?
Yes,
John?
yes. That's why I said it's cheaper than
all right.
and you're making money off of it. So there you go.
Exactly. Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy. You're over there. And I'm over here.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, when I was driving through Staten Island, I was like, "We got to hurry. Rob lives around here someplace. We
gotta hurry. Step on it.
Step on it. Over that bridge. That bridge. Just throw money at that toll booth person. Just throw it. Don't wait for change.
I gotta get out of here." That's funny. Funny.
But you're right. Like to have a Greek slave, was a big deal for the Romans. They it's like they were enslaved by them, and it was like back and forth, and it's so interesting. It's just so interesting. So that's something I wanted to incorporate, because I mean the Romans literally just took Greek gods and just just changed the names. They like, oh, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So hey, I like their gods. Let's change the names. So we're going to see how in this new volume that's going to be starting with issue 13 in Blood Realm, how the humans kind of slowly get their culture, because they've been enslaved by the mages for so long. So their gods, their way of worship, their architecture. So we're going to be diving into all that stuff. And we're going to be following the origin of one of the main characters in Blood Realm. His name is Chiron Morval. He's the big hero of the series. He's the great character.
Yes, exactly. And I can't wait. This is going to be the largest volume in the series. Six issues as of now, and may go a little too extra for like part 2 of it.
Oh, we'll cool. See. How long does it take you to make an issue?
Oh boy. Between work and obligations.
Yeah,
and all
I know you're not a 40-hour-a-week comic book guy. You got a real job, and you just got married. Congratulations.
Yes. So thank you very much. Thank you, John. I really appreciate that. So it's tough. It could take me a couple of months. It could take me a couple of months to really. Thank you, Powers. B Powers. 5 months, only because I'm the writer of the issues that I do completely. I'm the writer, the artist, the colorist, the letterer. But for this volume, I was realistic. I said, okay, I'm not going to be able to finish this in the time I want to. So I'm getting some help. So I'm doing the first phase of Chiron's life, the first 2 issues. And then Christian Rossi, who is a wonderful artist.
Too. Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic.
He's done some King Cryptid.
Encrypted. Yes. He's doing the middle phase of his life. And then I'm talking with Keir Covington, another artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So He's working on a really cool, sweet backstory too with the old beasts, these legendary creatures that
Oh,
exist.
the old beast. There's definitely something wrong with you. Those old beasts.
So it's like the way we have that relation with dinosaurs. We have these remains and everything out of these big, massive creatures. So these beings, these massive, massive titans, existed before the appearance of humanoids. So we'll be diving into that a little bit, and so it's going to feel like history. These different accounts, these different periods. So
Yeah, it spans thousands of years. Your story. Yeah,
exactly. So by doing it this way, with the different art styles, which I'm very particular about. I'm like, well, does this art style fit what I'm going for with
oh,
this
I know
story?
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So uh, Christian already completed issue
yeah.
14, and he did an amazing job. So he's going to do issue 15, working with Kier right now, and I have another artist I'm talking to. So we're gonna got to finalize that because I still have to
John
finish the
Byrne.
script. Yeah, exactly. Of course. So it's going to be
That
an
is
epic.
cool.
It's going
That
to be
is
an
cool.
epic story. I cannot express how much fun I'm having enough.
It's got to be
This
fun.
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding selfish, I'm working on a comic.
Nice.
And I'm hoping to crowdfund it soon. Renzo Rodriguez is doing the art, and
Mm,
I have like another story. I like if this is successful, I want to follow it up with some straight superheroes, and then I have some like historical,
mm.
uh, mythological blends of stories that I think would be right up your alley. And I'm like, I already know who's the artist. I already contacted them and said, if you
Nice.
don't want to do it, I'm not doing this. So like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
now the pressure, right?
Put the
Now the
pressure on him.
I
Put it
said,
on
well,
deep.
let's just pretend, let's just pretend I didn't say anything. We'll see how it goes. But I know what you say. You're particular about the artist, like, and then you
Yeah.
have this group of time. It has to be consistent. You got the same artists telling the same stuff.
Yes,
Yeah,
especially yeah, exactly, and especially since I've been developing this. I mean, this is issue 13 that's coming in, and it's I know this universe very well. The specifics, in my head, while it may seem like fantasy history to some people, this is real history to
yeah,
me.
yeah. This is Tolkien. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is like I have
I
a book.
wonder if Tolkien in his old age was like didn't realize that dwarves weren't real.
Did we find them yet? Those poor people are down in the caves there. Did we
Pop,
find them?
they're not real. Of course they're real. Yeah,
Of course they're
you're going
real.
to be
You
86.
haven't dug deep enough.
Your grandkids will come visiting you. Pop. You're like, watch out, Mamarius is here. Hide the pasta
Man.
fuzzle.
Hide the pasta fazool. That's our favorite. Oh man.
Just anything else you play? Penciling ink. Yeah. Yeah, I can only.
Yeah.
I was reaching over for a drawing. I can't even find it. I can't draw, so I'm in awe of people. Like again, watching Rob draw those things, and I'm like, oh man, he just messed that. Oh, it looks great.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
I don't know how you do it.
Thank you. No, it's what's good about the draw streams too is that it forces me. It's like the art gym. I don't want to go to the gym to work out,
Oh, who
but
does?
when who does exactly? But when I get there, I'm like, all right, I'm here. I'm here. And when I come home, okay, I'm winded, but you know what? I'm glad I did it. And that's how I feel with this. I come home from a long day of work. Even though I would be in traffic, I come back and I'm like, you know what? Let me just get an hour in. Let me just exercise the hand and be with the chat for an hour.
And you're good. You're good at, like I said, you do some multitasking. You can see the chat will go by, but you go back. You acknowledge everything. You're joking with everybody, you're telling stories. It's fun. I'll sit here and I'll read my comics, and and I'm listening to the chat and I'm looking up. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Not to curve the show, but I love to hear about life in New York. If there's time at the end, only experience through Marvel. It's funny. Yeah. Rob and I both live in New York, different parts of New York.
I did intern at Marvel Comics.
You did?
I did. Yeah, that was
I
my
didn't know that.
internship during college. Yeah, it was a really cool experience, I have to say. One thing that it made me realize I was not the place where I want to work, because I didn't know this, but like none of the artists were working there. They had stopped, at the time. I didn't know that.
What years was this?
So this is the cool part. the cool part was that first off, I got to see how the sandwich was made. You know what I mean? Like I was given all the original art every morning, and I had to scan all the artwork in, and I had to crop it to size so everything could be ready for the letterer and the colorist. And that was the cool thing. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm looking at these pages. Sometimes I would just like, and I would just stare at them and just
yeah.
like analyze them. You know what I mean? And dissect them. And then it's a long process scanning them in. And then it was 2008, and they
Okay.
announced that Iron Man was coming out, and that was cool because the excitement there was through the roof, and we all got tickets. They gave us free tickets to the premiere at the Ziegfeld Theater. That I have to say, which is no longer there in Manhattan anymore, the Ziegfeld Theater. That was a really great experience, and I was there for about a year and a half working there, and I was there for Iron Man and the premiere with Hulk.
Oh
So
wow.
that was awesome. I still have the tickets. I still have the tickets because that's an experience I'll never forget. I learned a lot. I learned a lot, but I knew being in that aspect of the job is not something I wanted to do. Not
I
something I
was the
wanted to
in 2000, probably 2008. Maybe you were there when I was there, but I was the electrician for Marvel.
do. Oh, get
Yeah,
out of here! Are you telling me we were probably in that building at the same time?
yeah.
We didn't even know it.
It's because I
Get out
look
of
for
here!
it. I can't find it. It's got to be over here someplace. Maybe this is it.
It's a small world,
Oh,
folks.
this is it.
Small
This is
world.
it. Yep. There you go. I still have it. My pass.
Oh my God, I remember those. Get out of here!
Marvel Visitor. Inner City Electric. Inner City Electric's not there anymore.
Holy
And
smokes!
they had an outlet that circuit kept tripping, and
That's
so they wanted
outrageous.
us to run another. So it's not like I was there all the time just waiting to work. Like my shop serviced a whole bunch of buildings on that, and I
That's
would go there,
hilarious.
and you know. Once we found out with comics, my foreman was just like, "Yeah, next Marvel, you're going. You got to go. You got to go. If anybody's going to Marvel, it's got to be you.
Oh,
And I
that's
was like,
cool. He did that for you.
what happened? Like 6 months, and then finally, I go up there, and I just remember there was this beautiful receptionist,
Yep.
black.
I know who you're talking about. Yep. I know. I think
She
it's
was
with a
beautiful, and
J.
I'm like, da, 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 da. And I
I
get that
remember.
pass, and then I go in.
She was no nonsense too, man. Let me tell
Yeah,
you. She was great.
and then I was just so disappointed. I just remember the carpets were like dreary, the lights were flickering, and
I
there's
know.
too many people at a cubicle, and I was just
Yes. Yeah,
like
they're all on top of each
even
other.
though I knew that the bullpen hasn't existed since the 50s, I expected to see like people drawing, and
I know. And me too. I had expected it too. Isn't that funny? I felt the
it's
same
it
way.
was like musty and like, and I
Yes.
remember
There were toys everywhere. The
I had to
statues and
walk on
stuff.
people's desks to pull wire across the drop ceiling, so I was like
That's
moving
funny.
people's stuff over, and I want to say Archie Goodwin, but I don't think it was it. But I was just like, how is it working here? And he goes, not as good as it used to be. Like he whispered, because everybody was quiet. It just
Yep. Yep.
it
Yep.
didn't
Very
seem.
different, tense.
And I was like, I couldn't wait to get out of there.
I
And then they're
was
like,
I
how
was
was
in
working at
there.
Marvel? I'm like, it sucked. I hated it. And they had an editorial meeting, and they were discussing like an event, like they were brainstorming to come up with an event, and I'm in the middle. There's a ladder in the middle, and I'm splicing wire, and they were getting the facts wrong. They were talking about how the Inhumans were introduced in Thor. I'm like, no, it's not. The Inhumans were introduced in Fantastic Four. Like, how would these people group editors at Marvel Comics? Like, I felt like getting off the ladder and being like,
You're giving me PTSD. I remember. I remember all
but I
this
couldn't say
very,
anything
very
because
well.
I was representing my company.
Yeah. No, I remember all. It was a very weird atmosphere. I have to say,
Yeah,
it really was. One thing that was really disappointing me was that I think I mentioned this to my channel, my viewers. I can't remember, but I got all these free DC comics. Now, I purposely chose Marvel because I wanted to intern at Marvel. But I would get every time at my cubicle a whole giant plastic, a little box, a little bag of DC comics. Everyone at Marvel was getting DC comics. I was like, what the heck is going on? I could not get one free Marvel comic,
I
which
remember
drove
the
me crazy.
receptionist gave me you know, she had like a stack here. Take some comics. My foreman goes, only take one, and I was like, but he was just messing with me. He was just messing.
Oh,
So I only took one, and then he goes, "What'd you only take one for?" I'm like, "You told me." I thought it was going to be like it's going to look bad for our company. You know what I mean? I was like,
oh my God.
most of them I had already. I mean, at this point, I was buying pretty
Yeah, yeah,
much
yeah.
everything Marvel or DC had.
Right.
So
They gave us DC comics because there was like this agreement. between the two companies. Like they would, hey, you get to see what we're doing, we get to see what you're doing. So they would give each other these stacks of comics. And I remember sitting there, I was like, what the heck? I was like, I'm here from Marvel. You're giving me all these. So it was like, I think was it Final Crisis or Countdown to Final Crisis? All these terrible. I'm sitting there, I was like, I can't believe I'm reading this, and I'm surrounded by.
How did you get that? Like, what college offered it to you, or how did you get?
I applied, and coincidentally, the director of the internship happened to be from Staten Island. And once he saw a Staten Island kid was applying, he was just like, holy smokes. He was like, Staten Island? I was like, a Staten Island person? He's applying here? And he was like, let me see if I remember I got the call while I had just left class. And I like, oh, this is so-and-so from Marvel Comics. I went, get out of here. I didn't believe it at all. I was like, you're full of it. So, but still, it was a really good experience because it taught me that type of environment is not for me, and it was very corporate, very cold.
Yeah,
and then
I
left just in time, and the Disney takeover came, and all those people I know were gone. I think they fired 60 people. They let go 60 people after that takeover, and just about everyone. There's still a couple people there that are still working there. A supervisor I had there in the bullpen, but yeah, it was just very tense, very strange atmosphere.
It was very tense. I felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I remember getting into the electrical closet, and me and my partner that were working. I was an apprentice at the time, so my partner was the experience. We'd shut the door, or we'd both be like, oh, like we felt like.
And it wasn't fun.
It was off. The energy was weird.
It wasn't fun. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was very strange. And, if it wasn't for my supervisor, I always mentioned this at the time, who told me, he was like, Rob, you want to work in comics? And he goes, yeah. He goes, don't work here. He goes, because I had the same dream as you of being a comic book artist. And ever since I took this job, he goes, I haven't drawn in 10 years. So he goes, don't do it. He goes, because he saw that I love to draw, and he saw that it's like, you have potential. He was like, I don't want to see that happen. And
yeah,
I'm glad he was open with me like that.
I always wanted to write Fantastic Four. That was my dream. Someday I'm going to write the Fantastic Four. Now, even if Stan Lee rose up from maybe Stan Lee, but if the guys from Marvel came up to me and said, hey, you want to write Fantastic Four? I'd be like, no. You
make my own stuff now.
My toy, and I don't want to play with it anymore.
You broke my toy, and I don't want to play with it. That's a great way to put it.
B. Powers asks, how do you guys write? Well, I don't have any. Well, I have a short story published 30 years ago through like a college thing, so that doesn't count. But I'm not going to flatter myself and say I'm a writer. Rob has comics, so he's a writer. But
what's a pantser?
I daydream, and then I write down my daydreams.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
What's a pantser? I don't know what a pantser is.
Are you a pants? Yeah, I don't know. Is that a typo? Discovery writers put pen to paper and the story just flows, or are you into hard outlining? I have to outline the story. I'm a plotter to a fault. I run plots over in my head.
You have to. Well, yeah, you have.
And then I write an outline, and then I write the story, and then I throw it away and start all over again because I doubt myself.
That's the norm. No, that's the norm. Very good. No, yeah, very similar to what John said. I do the outline. A pantster is a type of writer.
Oh, I never heard that term before.
I never heard of that either.
It's the title of my next comic, Pantster.
Pantster. Rated R. So, yeah, I outline it, and then I slowly develop it, and then I don't outline it too much to the point where it's such this rigid outline that.
Well, you're drawing it yourself, so.
Right, so things need to flow, and I do multiple drafts. If like for instance, the script I give Christian, I go through multiple drafts to make sure I'm happy with this.
Yeah, because somebody else is drawing that. Yeah,
so multiple drafts. And let me tell you, if you think you're done, it needs another draft. Chances are, it's got to be like, I would say 8 to 10 maybe. So, yeah.
I wrote a draft for Renzo, and he did a rough layout of the first 5 pages. Mm-hmm. And he didn't put any letters in it. So it's just a rough layout just to get my approval. Is this good? And I was like, this is exactly what I was picturing in my head. Like I have
Isn't that
always read,
nice?
because this is the first time I'm ever seeing an artist take my words and put it on paper, and I'm always like, I've been reading, like Kurt Busiek said, if I get back 30% of what I pictured, I'm happy.
Yeah, right,
This
right,
is like
right.
90%. It was like almost spooky,
That's wonderful. Well, that's what you want. That's when things really gel with an artist. It's one of the coolest feelings when you guys gel.
Pantsers don't outline the discover the story is there. Okay, okay. Um, I don't know. Again, I'll let you know when I actually have something published. So I'm not going to flatter
Right.
myself a writer yet.
I'm always influenced by music, and my readers know this. I take long walks if I'm really in that early stage where I need to get inspired. It's music and walks, whether
What
it's
do
on
you
a
listen to?
trail. I listen to soundtracks, all orchestral. I don't really listen to like albums anymore. Really, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, once I've really
Well,
started
you're a
to
college professor. You got to be all snooty.
yeah, but don't worry. They're like movie soundtracks, video game soundtracks. So it's not like Mozart.
So you like music with a theme then?
Yes, yes, I love that stuff. I love that so much. And I don't know, I just feel like sometimes I close my eyes, I can imagine the scene happening, to that music. It's such a great, I don't know, it's a great tool and component for imagination. So So that's what I do. That's what I do. I start that way, and then I start plotting. I have books that I need to read so I can get everything ready to go on the history of certain characters, the inspiration. I find myself listening to video game soundtracks more than anything else now these days. I do too, even for games I don't even play. I don't have as much time anymore, and still I will listen to these video game soundtracks.
This is the
Are
generation gap.
incredible.
'Cause I remember, I played board games, and I had a group of friends out in Flushing, and we went to one of our friends, this girl Donna's house, and she set up the big table. Wonderful cook. She made this big stew and everything. And she's like, I
Ooh.
made, and here's the theme music, and it was a soundtrack to like a Legend of Zelda game.
Mhm.
And I'm like, we're listening to video game music. Like, I didn't want to say anything, because she's been a
Sure,
wonderful
sure.
host. And it really was like, I guess I'm old fashioned because like I'm still listening to bands, and I grew up listening to Beatles and Led Zeppelin. I'm
Oh,
not sure, but then
sure. No.
in my teen years it was all punk rock, and then later on
Yeah.
heavy metal. But I would never think to listen to a video game. But then again, I don't play video games, so
It's the orchestral, it's the soundtracks. I have to say, some of this stuff is like the stuff that's coming out now for these games are well, first off, games is not what you
right.
remember. I
Yeah,
mean, the
they got
the
movie
money.
budgets. Yeah,
Yes. I mean, I think it was the recent Call of Duty, whatever. I don't really play that as much, but I think it was like 300 million for the last one. I mean, we're talking
right.
movie budgets, and these games are getting big orchestral in gigantic studio soundtracks with a full orchestra, and they rival movies today, in my opinion. They really rival a lot of these superhero movies
You
today.
got me curious. If you wouldn't mind to send me like a couple of these soundtracks just to give it a listen to.
Oh, sure, yeah, I have a
Now
couple
I'm
my
curious because at the
go-tos.
time I was just like, what is this?
Right.
Nice,
Hey,
nice
Brian,
person
yeah,
in the world is
Skyrim.
just listening to video games
I
soundtrack.
Brian, good to see you, my brother. Yeah, that's right. Skyrim is definitely on the list. Absolutely on the list. And like I said, like I don't have as much time anymore because now working and everything, I come home, I work on the story. And even if I barely even get to play like 45 minutes, but I still want that world. I want a piece of it. And I'll put on the music. And that's the thing, man. They're
I'm
unbelievable.
outnumbered, guys. All right, I have to defer to the crowd over here. I
It's
guess I'll
incredible.
get off my lawn, Robert. Video games.
It's totally different. Totally different. And
I do know, like, I went to my buddy Adam's house like 2 weeks ago. We were painting minis. He was teaching me techniques to paint miniatures, and his son was playing a video game, and all I could hear was the music from the next room. And I thought
Mhm.
he was listening or watching like a Lord of the Rings type movie.
Exactly.
It's a video game
Exactly.
soundtrack.
This stuff is worthy of that. It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. And that's why I was saying like they fill a void for people because I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think movie soundtracks these days are terrible. I mean, the
well,
themes of yeah,
movies.
movies today. I mean, like when you think about the movie soundtracks, it's like we're afraid when they were making all these films, they were afraid to give like traditional themes to superheroes and everything. It's like everything was just lacking something. It's like it was never a soundtrack. I was like, oh, I need to own this. You know, it's like
Yeah,
it's
like
not like John
Leia
Williams.
theme, you know, the Imperial March.
Yeah,
Everybody,
yeah, Star Wars, right? Exactly, right? It themes. And what's funny is that a lot of these people who were making these soundtracks for the games were making themes for their characters, for the battles, for the moods, and they became synonymous with those characters. Whereas, like now lately, everything was trying to be like that Hans Zimmer, the boom, boom, you know, the big bomb. It sounds like some kind of like massive bomb sound or horn
yeah,
sound. It's like the
yeah,
Inception theme that was being used over and over and over again. And now there are some that come through the cracks there, but nothing that has that, I don't know, that like that John Williams Superman, you know, even Danny Elfman with Spider-Man, you know, there was the themes that just whenever you hear it, you cannot help but look at the character and the theme plays in your head right away, like Batman, you know, the OG Batman, you know,
yeah.
1989, you know. So in my opinion, these soundtracks in these games are filling a void for that. So
You know, I don't get me wrong. I don't have any problems with video games. I just know me. If I played video games, I'd get fired from work, and I'd be getting a bit because I'd get too into it. You know.
yeah,
I
listen to the music.
yeah.
The music is great.
I have Red Dead Redemption, the original one, and
That's a great one.
you
That's
know,
a great one.
and I got motion sick. I was like, oh god. So
Yeah.
I don't whatever console that is because
Yeah.
I had
I
the
can't
original
do I can't
Nintendo.
do the VR. I can't do that thing on the
Oh,
face.
yeah,
That gets me nauseous. That I
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
I have a cousin who can do it all day. It doesn't bother him, but me, like, I tried it at his house and I was like, okay. It's like,
Yeah, my brother was trying to
I
get me
do
to
it.
play. Now I can't even think of it. Assassin Creed.
Assassin's Creed. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love those. I don't play those for the story. I'm so amazed by the
the architecture.
recreation.
Yeah,
For me, I'm such a historian nerd where I'm like, let me just climb the Pantheon and no, and the Parthenon. Oh, well, yeah, they had the Pantheon in the Italy one. It was just like, you know, and I never actually end up finishing them. I just run
I
around.
couldn't play because I always ran to the left. Like I don't know what it
Oh,
was.
right,
I
right.
couldn't control it, and I was like, oh, I'm getting nauseous. I'll
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
you play. You know. So
yeah. It's so incredible how they recreate those worlds. I can't attest for the stories. I don't know if they're any good, but I just find myself just like, oh man, look at this.
I heard there's a World War I or a World War II video game that is like a 1/8 scale of actual Europe. So like theoretically in the game you could walk from like France
Wow, really?
into Russia. You know what I mean? Like and
Wow.
see cities and
Oh, I
I don't
don't
know if
know
that's
that.
true or not, but that would be amazing. I do think like video games and VR would be an amazing teaching tool. Can you imagine teaching art history and every kid has a headset on and you look it up at the Sistine Chapel or you're walking
Oh
around these
yeah.
sculptures, you know, how cool.
Oh, sure, sure. There's nothing like seeing it in person though. Nothing
Yeah,
like seeing it in
Brian
person.
Bauer he has a whole life.
In the
You know,
Skyrim world. Yeah, oh, Skyrim's amazing. That game never gets old. Like you could go right back into it. You're gonna
I'm afraid. I'm afraid to play these games.
the soundtrack for that, forget it, John. It's like Lord of the Rings level. It's incredible.
Wow. Uh,
Incredible.
w-
Yeah.
you a Lord of the Rings fan?
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
Tolkien.
I always tell people he's like for everyone who loves history, he's Uncle Tolkien. You know what I mean? He feels like an uncle to all of us, you know. And yeah, the Tolkien Hobbit was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Hobbit is one of those books where I try to read it every other year, you know, as best if I ever get to it, you know, but it's one of those books and I don't know what it is about that book. It always gets me emotional when I get to the end all the time. And I know it's coming, but that goodbye, that final goodbye, not like in the movie. And I like the movie, you know, the Hobbit movies. They're not great,
I was disappointed at first, and
but
then a couple
they
years
grow on
later,
you.
I came back and I was like, okay,
Same thing.
I'll like it. I'll like it.
Same thing, same thing. So, but I think the cartoon did it the best, in my opinion.
That's
I think
how I
the
learned. I
cartoon-
learned about Tolkien from the
Same,
from the Rankin and
same.
Bass.
From the Raken and right. I watched that on TV, and I could not believe. I remember when I was young, and I never thought you would ever show anyone dying in a cartoon. And when I found out that the dwarves were dying, and all this one was killed, that one, Philly Killy, and I'm sitting there, I'm
Yeah.
like, as a kid, I was like, oh my god. And then that final goodbye between Thorin and Bilbo, oh,
Yeah.
gets me every time when he says, "I want to part with you in friendship." I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "You're killing me, Thorin. You're killing me." And
Yeah.
every time I get to that part in the book, I was like, "That was so beautiful and so incredible." And I know it's coming. As it's just like I know it's coming, but when I get there, I'm like, time for bed.
I get so mad when people just like, yeah, well, Tolkien's not really a good writer. He's just good at this. That's you're absolutely wrong.
They're out of their minds. They're out of
Yeah,
their minds. Now, I will say this: um, as much as I love Tolkien, I have a hard time. Maybe because it's just I'm so used to The Hobbit because it was obviously a different type of book. The Lord of the Rings, they are a little bit. They're tough to read. You know what I mean?
they're tough to read, but they're well written, and
But they're well written.
there's
Yes.
passages that are just beautifully written, and especially like when Gandalf, like when everybody gets like a little discouraged, and Gandalf gives an uplifting speech.
Oh,
They are wonderful.
come on! I know. Like
But so
you're
many
gonna.
people just like, and then I walked, and I get that. I get that. Just like,
It's the journey. It's the
yeah,
journey. That's what
yeah.
it
There's
is.
so many good stuff. So much
Yeah.
good stuff in Tolkien.
And you know what he's doing is he's touching on timeless themes.
Right.
He was a professor of linguistics, and he was a professor of. I know he was also his passion was history. This is also a veteran of World War One.
Right.
So these are things that really just were poured into the story, and you can feel the genuine emotions that he gives and he gives us. And that's something that was inspiring to me. I was always fascinated by creators and artists and writers who really had their vision they need to get out on the paper. And that's why with comics I always gravitated toward like Frank Miller because he did everything. And
Yeah, I
you read
think the best comics are made by one person. Like,
yeah, it's
you did everything for Blood. Brian Bow in the
right, Brian. Yeah,
he
that's
does
right.
Wolfie Patsy.
Fabrizio too. He does. Yeah,
He did Horace
and
H. Hoover.
right.
I think
It's
that is
just
the best way to do a comic. Like those Kirby books that he did all by himself. Amazing.
Oh my God, some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
My
And Frank
favorite
Miller,
stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
So like I said, that's the stuff that I really was inspired by because as much as I loved the other stuff, but when I was like, wow, Frank Miller, he was the creator of this. It's really cool. Made it feel like I could do that, So, that's it all comes together there. World War One had to affect him. That was an insane war. Trench war. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
It seems like the past couple of years, World War One came back into the public eye, but it was
Which is
almost
good.
like a forgotten war for a while. Like
Oh sure.
I
Sure.
kind of got fascinated with World War. I remember it was I was a kid. I saw soldiers with the gas masks, and that always stuck to me. I didn't know the horrors of it. I just thought it looked cool. It's a cool image to see a guy in a helmet and the gas mask.
Right.
So I always liked World War One, like as a history buff. And then you get older, all you learn about is World War Two.
Sure. Well, yeah,
you
because
kind of forget about this horrible war that happened. So I'm kind of glad to see that people are interested in World War One again.
well, that's what's so incredible when I talk about with my students, because everyone thinks we're we are so much less barbaric, right, than the people of the
Oh no,
past. But when you think about it, I said, yeah, but okay, but now back then, now granted, maybe Alexander would have, if he could, make a factory of death like in World War II. Who knows? But we're in the age of enlightenment where knowledge was supposed to be the thing that would kind of get us out of that barbarism, right? But then we have tanks, we have submarines, we have machine guns, we have gas, we have chemical warfare, and a chunk of the population was gone. Gone. People have no idea how much of the population was gone after those two wars.
yeah.
People have no clue. It's like, what?
A philosopher once said, named Conan the Barbarian, that man's natural state is barbarism.
There you
And I think he's absolutely right. Like I don't know. I don't want to get political right now, but
it's the fight. It's the fight. That's what it is. It's the fight within us. We're always. That's why I love the Greeks understood that very well, though, because you have that famous image that was on the Parthenon, and it's of the Lapith. The Lapith was a Greek tribe, and he's fighting and wrestling the centaur. When you look at, if you guys want to look for some cool mythological tales, you could read about the Lapith, Lapith tribe, and the centaur. They would always fight. They would go to war with each other, and it was always that wrestle, that struggle with the barbaric monster, the monster within man against the man of reason, and
So it was humanity versus monsters. Like
yes, exactly, because the centaur is half man, half beast. It's half man, half horse,
right.
And the Lapith was always fighting. This tribe was always at war with them. It's again just like what you said, man and the monster.
Cool. That's fascinating. Again, what B. Power said is right about Tolkien. He wanted to create the lost mythology of Britain before the what was it, the Norman invasions? Like he said that all that the indigenous British, their history, mythology, and stories were lost.
Was wiped. Yeah.
Yes, that's why I get mad about the Rings of Power TV show, like with race swapping and stuff. It's like, dude, you know, it's not racism to keep everybody white in a prehistory of Britain, because this is supposed to be like a mythology. This is supposed to be like a specific purpose. I can't watch the show because what some committee's going to overwrite Tolkien.
Don't even give it your viewership. Nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
I don't hate watch it. Don't hate watch it because that's still a view. Yeah,
I have to say, I actually have to thank all these people who are destroying these franchises, because you know what it made me realize? I was like, wow, I have more time to read. I have more time to draw, because now I'm not going to watch this drivel.
Yeah,
because I didn't realize how much of my life I was immersing into this stuff, which is great, but it served its purpose at this point for me, because I still have the old stories and I still have the old movies. But now, you know what? I'm going to take all this and now I'm going to make something that I always wanted to make and always wanted to see. So I'm doing this through Blood Realm. And now I have more time to read books. I have more time to learn a language. I'm like, frig it. Thank you for giving me more time to not put into this.
I'm reading like old comics,
There you go. You see what I mean?
I bought so many stupid comics that I haven't read yet. Like this Good Girls, I bought it because I thought it was Jamie Hernandez. When I saw it, and I bought it, and it's been sitting in my box for like 7 years. I'm finally, because I'm not buying too many new comics. I finally get to read stuff I bought 7 years ago.
Right. And you know what that does too is, see, that's the same thing. This is why alternative comics rocks, because people who are sick and tired of the stuff that's going on.
Oh, I'm the biggest alternative fanboy.
And frustrated, with and just want good stories. That's why I love being a part of.
I keep busting Pete Sametti's chops. I keep saying, like, I want to have Alternicon here. We all get here. Brian, Fabrizio, we all come here, and then I forget who it was came up with the great idea. Like I play role playing games, and I play a superhero game. So what if we all come to my house? You make up Chiron Marvel, as a character. Brian makes up Wolf and Batsy. Fabrizio makes Horace H. Hoover. Pete makes up King Cryptid, and I run an adventure. And you get to role play your characters in an adventure. I think that would be that I could dream. When I win the lottery,
you got to pay for us all to come on.
Yeah. I'll
when I win the lottery,
When I win the lottery, you're all coming over. We'll live stream it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's what it's doing. It's forcing people to look elsewhere. You know what I mean? So there are people who are making stuff in the vein of what you always loved. You know what I mean? Like storytellers who love telling stories, storytellers who love to make great characters that make you feel different emotions. They're there. So it forces people to look elsewhere and support indie, and that's where it is. You got to look within the.
There's so many good comics out right now that are coming up. Anything by I'm an unabashed alternative fanboy. I get.
Thank you.
You guys get Unit 44, Red Koi. I get it. I get it all. And I'm still looking backwards to plug in holes of my alternate collection of stuff that I'm missing. I'd say I got about 90% of the alternate comics.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a lunatic. When I get into something, I get into something.
I love it. It. Well, hey, look, it's good to support the indies. That's where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, when you guys solicit that you have a campaign coming up, I don't want to look at any of the announcements, because I don't even want to look at the covers. I just want to open up that box and be like, oh man, this is great.
Nice.
I love that. I love that. If I'm on the bench with something, I'll look at the solicitations.
Sure. Yeah.
Like a movie that I know I want to watch. If I'm in a theater and they put up a trailer, I'm like this. Because they give away too much in trailers. I want to be.
Oh well, then now at this point they're desperate. Please, please, please.
Yeah. So, what was the last movie you saw in the theaters? See, you just made a face because you asked me that 2 years ago. I could have told you.
I can't remember. And if I did,
I'm trying to think what was the last.
I'll tell you what I'm going to see Saturday.
What?
I bought ticket for taking my wife for her first time to see Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein.
That's playing in the movies?
They're doing it in the theater at the Alamo Theater. So I was like, now I'm going to go to the movies. Early showing. I was like, you're going to love it. It's great.
Yeah.
So,
is it the kind of thing we'll go see Abbott Costello, then we'll go to whatever restaurant you want and we'll go yeah.
No, she's excited.
Cool.
She's excited. Cool. Yeah. She loves the old school horror movies.
The last movie that I saw in the theater was that Sound of Freedom. My wife likes that Angel Studios. We saw that,
Right.
But besides that, geez, I can't even remember what was the last movie. I'm sure it was a Marvel movie that I don't, but it's not worth it.
I can't even remember.
So B Powers asked a question I think is an important question. How do you learn of new indie comics? Do you want to answer this at all? Because I've been talking.
I will say for sure. I'm going to plug my publisher is Alterna Comics.
Yeah, this was a softball.
Yeah. You have every genre you can imagine: dark fantasy. You have comedy, sci-fi. You have horror, but like how would you describe old school? Like
I would say like Hammer horror.
Hammer horror. There you go. Hammer horror with
firmly and cheap. That's Wolf and Batsy.
You have like Lovecraftian horror and stories with Fabrizio's Horace.
Fabrizio is how do you describe that lunatic? Oh my god.
He's a paisan. We got a little bit of that craziness going on.
Really, yeah.
So yeah, now Alterna Comics.
So www. I put the link in the description.
Oh, you did.
If he wants to check out Alterna Comics, highly recommended, and they're $2 each. Like you're gonna like them, but even if you didn't like them, they're only $2 each.
Yes, exactly.
Pick them up. They're great comics. A lot of fun by
Pete's
people who love comics.
Yes, yeah, 100%. We love it. We absolutely love comics.
You love comics. But indie comic, the only thing I can compare it to is in the 80s and 90s. I was into punk rock,
Mm-hmm.
So I'd find a band, this band is really good, and then I would read interviews with that band, and then this band would be like, what, I really liked the Velvet Underground, and I'm like, I never heard of the Velvet Underground, and then I'd buy a Velvet Underground record, you know what I mean, and then I'm like, then this guy was like, I was really fascinated by the Velvet. Oh, so this guy liked the Velvet. I like. So next thing you know, I'm buying that. Same with the comics. Like I'll go on Twitter and I'll see, who's Ron. Robert, I almost said Ron Jeremy. Who's Robert Geronimo?
We have some similarities.
Yeah, you got one big similarity over here. What do you like? Like I'll see guys who post, like Aaron Lopresti's really good about posting other people's.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on. A lot of us are on. What do you call Twitter, X, whatever, right
Twitter,
now?
X, and I know a lot of people don't like Twitter, don't like X, but you know what? You cultivate it yourself, and I find it to be a real useful tool. Like I'm talking to so many cool people, and then I'm seeing cool comic guys posting other comics that I like, and then I've been reading comics for my whole life, and so like I just saw like J.M. DeMatteis, he corrected me. I actually said his name wrong, but he was on my channel. But I've been following this guy my whole life, and I saw that he's doing Kickstarting stuff, and then he just started talking about how Chaykin is now doing a crowdfunded Kickstarter. So it could be like a rabbit hole if you really, but it's a fun rabbit hole to jump into with amazing talent. So if you like comics, I would recommend go to Alterna, check it out, follow Pete Sabetti, follow Rob, follow Brian Bow, follow me, because we're always talking about comics that we like. So
and
that's a good answer for you, B Powers.
And I'm trying very hard to get my my subscribers up to the 1,000 mark.
Yeah, me too.
I'm doing.
So everybody, please subscribe. I hate asking. I feel like a cam girl.
Yeah, we need.
But you don't get what you don't ask for either.
Exactly. Yeah. So my my channel is Geronimo Draws.
I used to see Ponyo.
No, Ponyo. Yeah.
It was a Studio Ghibli movie, and they used to play them at midnight movies, and I used to take they're all like adults now, but when they were kids, Spirited Away, Ponyo, and there was
Oh,
a new
sure,
one.
sure, yeah.
And we used to come over to my house, everybody go to sleep, so all the kids would sleep on the floor, and I'd wake them up at like 11. We drive to the movie theater, and these movies are long, so it's like 4:00 in the morning when they're done.
Yeah.
We go to the diner, get breakfast, and then come home, and I dropped them off, and they would sleep. It was a lot of fun,
That's fun.
Well, then I guess I don't know what
the Ron Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
Jeremy, yeah.
Another New Yorker,
Of course. There you go.
So I got to ask, is because my last name is, I already showed you my past. My last name is Boo. It's a Sicilian name. No, it's not been shortened from anything. But people always ask me, was it changed? So was Geronimo? Is that like an old Italian name?
It's actually not where I get the Italian side, believe it or not. My father is Italian, but he's a Filipino and Italian.
Oh, okay.
And the name is actually from the Filipino side because the Spaniards conquered the Philippines. So that's generally why they have that name. But from what I understand, it means sacred name in English. And I believe it also means like Saint Jerome, who was a revered saint in Catholicism who translated the Bible to Latin. So, but it's actually not from the Italian side, believe it or not. Although I'm sure Geronimo could be an Italian version somewhere, maybe.
Okay.
And but yeah.
I always thought it was like a stage name because you didn't want people to know your real name.
No, it's my real name. It's
with these comic book people.
It's my real name. I did not make it up. It is my father is also Robert Geronimo, and my grandfather's last name was Geronimo.
And Twitter can work. Just don't let them suck you. Absolutely. Twitter has been a positive thing for me. I've met so many cool people, invite them on my channel, and now we're talking all because of Twitter. If Twitter is making you depressed and negative, I don't mean to be mean, but that's because you're cultivating it wrong. You're using it wrong.
Right. Oh, thank you, B Powers. He's sharing the link for
okay, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a great time. We have a great time on the draw stream.
Yeah, I love your draw streams. They're a lot of fun.
Thank you.
So I also got to ask you. You're like a real goomba. Like you're making pasta fazool, and you were talking about food the other day. My mouth was watering.
Oh my God.
My old Sicilian grandma, could make.
I love to cook.
Now,
I love to cook.
I lost my ability. I haven't cooked since I got married. My wife says I make a mess in the kitchen, so I cooked throughout college to pay for school. I was a pretty good cook, and now
I love it. I don't know. It's maybe because now maybe being in New York really catapulted this. I always had a passion and interest for cooking, but it didn't really kick off till I would say recently, when I'm in New York and everything is expensive here. I mean,
God,
everything's expensive. It's ridiculous. And going out to dinner, even just with friends now, is like, I can't even believe when we get the bill what it is for each person. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I took my wife just for eggs and bacon. It's $40.
Yes, it's like $20 a pop.
Yeah.
Same thing. And I'm like, you know what? They probably oversalt this stuff. And if I buy stuff, pre-made, it's going to be oversalted, all these additives. I want to control what's going in my food, So there's like a little market that comes every weekend from Jersey, and they sell their goods, and we get those goods, we cook those goods. And there's a little Salo Maria, which is an Italian butcher shop. We have one of those here, and he gets a lot of stuff imported from Italy, so I get some of those goods, and that's it. So, and I love it. I control what goes in. I know what's going in my food. I hate to say it, I don't like some of the stuff that we put in this country in our food. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have that's illegal in Europe.
Yeah,
illegal. Like our ground beef is illegal in Europe. What does that tell you? Illegal. Yeah. Why?
my barber was from who I obviously don't see too much lately, but when my old barber, he was from Kazakhstan, and I used to ask him, what's the main difference between Kazakhstan and he said the beef. He goes, your beef doesn't taste real. He goes.
Everyone told me that in Europe too. I was there in not January, in May. They were saying the same thing. They said your beef doesn't taste real. It's like,
Yeah,
because
it
it
tastes
is.
weird. Yeah. And I don't know. You know, I've never been to Europe. You know, I only
Oh, that's right. You've never been. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Iceland. And, oh yeah, I've been to
Oh,
Iceland. What am I talking about? I've been to Iceland, and it was the most delicious steak I've ever had. It was. I had to get a steak when I went to Iceland. I was like, it's gotta. And the water right out of the faucet. I was like, me and my wife like, this is delicious water. And it's funny because when we went to the restaurant and I got the steak, the waitress came over and said, don't buy bottled water. She goes, all they do is take it out of the tap and put it in bottles and sell it to you. She goes, just drink it from the tap. It's the same thing
wow.
in Iceland. You know,
Because it's literally
it's
Iceland. It's
yeah,
the purest water.
it comes right from the glacier, and their hot water. Oh my God! They said that people go to the hospital because it's the pipes are heated by the geysers. It's so you could burn yourself in the shower if you're not careful. I mean,
That's
like
amazing.
go to
That's
the hospital.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing. The what's it called? In Italy, they get their water from the Alps, and it's so funny because I was talking to them and I was like, it's amazing how you don't see like belligerent people the way you would see sometimes in America with drinking and getting vomiting and all that stuff. And I never forget this one girl told me, she was like, because we treat our livers with respect. I was like, wow, look at that, look how it's ingrained in them when
my
they're young.
grandfather used to say that back in the old country, the little kids, they all have a glass of wine with dinner. Maybe they'll have like a little cup of beer. He goes, and alcohol and drinking never becomes this like rite of passage.
No, because there's this thing, ready for this? That, and what I love about this, there's this thing called fare una faccia.
Now he's cursing
at
me.
No. This is it. I almost said ugly face. No, brutta figura. Brutta figura. So it's to make a bad impression. So fare una brutta figura. So if you make a bad impression, right, that stays with you. So to go out and be belligerent, and because everyone kind of knows everybody, and it's you being Italian American, that too. You know what I mean? It's a small world. It's a small town.
Yeah.
Non fare una brutta figura, because then that's going to stay with you. People are going to talk.
Yeah.
Did you see him puking in front of the basil plant? You know what I mean? So it's oh yes, of course, in England, absolutely, Metatron.
Well, Felix says, does this mean our meat has more flavor? Yes, our meat is fortified with vitamin freedom, and never forget it. Never forget that, Felix.
Vitamin freedom.
Yeah, Europe, yeah. I gotta say,
oh yeah.
I worked at a bar out in Albuquerque in college. That's where I was doing a lot of cooking, and every once in a while you'd have to come out and help, do some bar backing stuff. They had a group of English exchange students. Nobody could drink like them. These guys would drink, hardcore drink,
different
punch
lifestyle.
the shit out of each other, like punching each other to their bloody faces. I don't know about you, but if me and you went out and you just wailed on me, I'd be like, I don't think I could be friends with Robert anymore. But and then the next day they'd be sitting hugging each other again with band-aids on their nose. And the next thing they're punching the crap out of each other.
It's a totally different culture. No,
holy mackerel.
The Italian, culture, and I would probably even say Greek, is very different from the North.
My Italian in-laws, when I was a little kid, I used to see them from Italy, and it was funny because you had to dress up when they came to visit. You couldn't wear a T-shirt when the people from the old country.
Oh, yes.
And they drank their wine, they drank their beer, they drank some hard liquor. I wish I could remember what it was, but nobody raised their voices. They played cards, and grappa? They were like, what was that?
Was it grappa?
Maybe that sounds familiar. I'm talking. I was a wee little kid, but I just remember it was like I didn't even think about acting up. It was
My Uncle Ben, he was from Sicily. I don't have any. What was that?
He made rice.
He made rice too. He was very multifaceted. He was from Italy. I mean, I'm from Sicily. I don't have any Sicilian blood in me.
Oh, I'm Sicilian from Palermo.
Oh, you really?
Yeah.
What part? Where in Palermo? Do you know exactly?
I don't know. I've never been there. My father, when he joined the Navy, he was 18, 19 years old, and he did his tour. But they stopped at Palermo because he wanted to visit for the first time. So he gets to Palermo. He sees his cousins that he's always heard about, and they're wearing his clothes. He's like, "What?" My grandmother, as soon as my father got on the boat. She packed up all
She
of the
gave
stuff
everything out and handed it out.
and mailed it. He's like, she's like, you don't need it anymore.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
but
hilarious.
I don't know. It's like I told you, we had a trip to go to Italy. We just, something always happened. We never made it. But Italy and England on and my wife wants to go to Egypt. I was gonna take her for her 50th birthday to Egypt, but then COVID happened and the world went bananas. You know,
Yeah.
I feel bad.
Yeah, I know. Well, who knows? Maybe in a year.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll see.
yeah,
I'd like to go to Egypt too. That's on the
yeah.
bucket list.
As much as I love Rome, she loves Egypt.
Right. Well, maybe you could do maybe one stop in Rome. A little
Yeah, I'd
quick
love to do
stop
that
in-
cruise along the Mediterranean. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
My parents are looking into doing that. They had it's like Rome to like Malta or something like that. I have to see. But yeah, he would always wear a tie all the time. Jacket and tie,
Oh,
no
your
matter what.
uncle. Yeah.
My uncle, always, all the time. And every time, right, he would finish, he would have either a little wine or it would be like cranberry juice or something like that. And after every meal, he'd get up and he says, I'm going to go for a walk. He would always walk after his meal, even if it's just around the block, and he would take his time. And it was like, it's something like, it's funny now, right? The health experts are saying, always make sure, you take a walk after your meal. It's good for you. And I'm like, this was like in him. He knew to do this. This was ingrained in him. No, he had no personal trainer telling him you should walk after your meal. It's good for your digestion. He's there sipping
sitting in the lounge chair and relaxing and taking a nap after dinner is not good.
Apparently, it's just funny how it's their lifestyle.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to go. I haven't made it. One of these days, I keep saying
Not too late. Not too late.
I know it's not too late. It's not too late.
Yeah. I'll be going back.
Talking about wearing the tie. I remember my confirmation. So what am I in 6th grade? Yeah, 6th grade. I'm getting my confirmation, and it's the first time people are giving me money. So I back then I think I had.
It's all you got.
I got like $300, which might as well have been $100,000 to a 6th grader back.
Come on, Uncle, don't make me shake you down.
You know what I mean? And I just remember I'm counting my money. My grandfather goes, "Go buy yourself a nice suit." A nice suit. Yeah, that's what I want. That's what a 6th grader wants. I want a nice suit. I was like, okay, Pop, I'll get a nice,
Go buy yourself a nice suit. You'd be like looking at him like, I'm thinking about all the comics I can buy now. Are you kidding me? Go buy yourself a nice suit. That's brilliant. Oh my God.
Yeah. That's the way the old Italians think.
Stripes, zoot suit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just get yourself a nice suit.
And here's a cigar.
Walk around. Well dressed 6th grader.
Go buy yourself a nice suit. Oh, that's great.
My father thought that was a riot. He goes, "That's Pop. Yeah."
That's amazing. I'm dying to know what type of suit he wanted you to get. That's even better. That is great. Started watching walking tours of Italy, the Amalfi Coast. Yeah, that's where my family's from.
Oh yeah, where is that?
No, Naples. The Naples region. Yeah. So, interesting history. When I was digging into that whole past, I found that I have a great. Let me get this right. My great grandfather. He came from Amalfi. And his name is Andrew. And apparently the reason that everyone is named Andrew in Amalfi is because apparently this is what they claim, the remains of St. Andrew were there. So everyone's like named Andrew. But get this, he came here and he's actually in a history book. He was a musician, right? And he played for, I think it was Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty interesting. I had no idea. And I'm reading, I'm like, this is incredible, right? And you could even look up the picture, Andrea, and last name was Camera, like you would say, like a camera taking a picture. And as I'm reading about him, I also learned that I don't know, was it Salieri? He worked with one of the famous composers. I think it was Salieri. And he had, when I read this, I was like, did I read that right? Like 26 children.
Wow.
I was like,
with the same woman? This poor woman?
The first woman died after like the 16th kid. and he had another wife and had like, what is that? Like another 12 or 16,
Wow.
14. And I was like, oh my, that drunk you says nice. What happened was he could not afford to take care of all these kids. Now I'm thinking that because he came from Italy, which is obviously Catholic tradition, obviously he didn't have birth control then, and he must have really liked
Yeah.
his wife's.
Yeah.
Um,
Like this pasta fazool.
Maggie's pasta fazool. He had to give some of these children, and my great grandfather ended up going to an orphanage and ran and escaped and ended up meeting eventually his future wife, and that's where I come in. And I'm like, wow, like that's absolutely insane. You know how many cousins I must have I don't even know about?
Wow. Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane. It's like
Yeah.
a rabbit.
If you throw a rock in northern Italy, you might be hitting one of Rob's relatives.
Well, this was here. This was here in America.
Oh wow.
This was here in America.
Yeah, that guy you arguing with in Staten Island at the stoplight. Guys,
Yeah, also I'm pulling in. I'm like, this guy looks like me.
I mean, funny guy got a big curly mustache, a guy with a big floppy, the same face, just like
Same
different
face. And you go, hey, I know you.
That's funny. Wow, 26 kids. Wow,
That's insane.
Wow, I'm 1 of 7. I thought that was a lot.
Exactly. That's why I was like, I was going through this. I was like, oh, this is all fascinating stuff. But the thing that made me really stop was like, how many kids?
26 kids. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I got to stop here because I got to go to bed. I wake up at 4 in the morning. You know.
Oh my God, John.
Yeah, so,
oh man. Well,
yeah,
this was a blast. Every time we talk, I feel like
talk again. I say this to every guest, but I mean it to every guest. I could talk all night long. I love talking with people. This is fascinating too. We talk comics, we talk Rome.
everything.
I believe it or not, I love talking about people's personal like family stories. It's like when you tell that is fascinating. You know, oh man, I got crazy family stories I could tell myself too. You know.
Well, you know what, John? At the end of the day, go buy yourself a nice suit.
Yeah, I gotta get myself a nice suit. Yeah, a nice suit. That's what every 6th grader wants. And you want to know the worst? Here's the kicker: the comic book store opened up in my neighborhood. The Incredible Pulp. It was my comic book store.
Oh, that's a great name.
I was telling Chuck Dixon this yesterday. They had Amazing Fantasy 15. They had X-Men, Uncanny X-Men #1, and I think it was Fantastic Four #1, $60 a piece. I had $300. I could have bought them all. And I just remember saying to the guy, who would spend $60 on a comic book? You know, me, I've done it a few times. Don't tell my wife, you know, but can you imagine how to,
Dude, you know, collectors are no joke. Even not even comics real quick. I was in like this real obscure little video game shop in Jersey, and they had this rare printing of, I forgot what game, on PlayStation 1. And the guy said, yeah, this just came in. He goes, it's $350. And the guy was like, all right, I'll take it. And I was like, this guy's dropping $350 on a PS1 game that he's probably never going to play. He's going to seal it away.
He's going to CGC it or something. Yeah.
I was like, holy man. I was there and I was like, am I watching this transaction? And boom. I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. I remember being in Love Saves the Day. It was like a thrift store in Manhattan. It was the same store in that Desperately Seeking Susan that Madonna bought the jacket in.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was in that store in Manhattan, and they had the Sex Pistols, Nevermind the Bollocks, on 8-track.
Oh,
I bought it for $200.
Look at that.
It's probably worth $1,000 right now. You know,
I would say so.
if he still has it, you know.
Yeah. Oh man.
You know, collectible.
This was great.
Collectors are crazy people. You know. Yeah. My brother's on a quest for the Butcher cover of the Beatles. You know, yesterday.
Oh, really?
You know, every time he goes to a garage sale, somebody will eventually be. He's like, he'll buy, like, he has multiple copies of Yesterday and Today. You know, and he's trying to see if he can get the Butcher cover. I don't think he'll get it in America. You probably have a better chance in England.
Probably, I would say so.
Yeah,
your odds are better there. That's crazy.
But thanks a lot. I got to get going. You're going to say one more word, and I'll talk for another 20 minutes. I know. But as we go, you know, tell us about your comic. You know, and remember the link is in the description. Yes. And you know, let's leave everybody.
Of course, yes. So everyone, thank you thank you so much for watching, and thank you, John, for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, I needed something fun to talk about today, so thank you.
Yeah, no, this was great. I'm glad this
Yeah.
was good, positive for you, brother.
Yep.
So, my comic is Blood Realm. It's printed and published by Alterna Comics, dark fantasy horror series inspired by fantasy, history, and all that good stuff. So check it out, and also check out my YouTube channel, Geronimo Draws, and there I do draw streams, and we have some really cool discussions on just about
And
everything.
what is your next campaign going up?
We got time yet, but right now there is a campaign going on for some merchandise. So it's called the Battle for Mordrin. It's all merchandise for the Blood Realm series. So I have T-shirts, which I'm wearing right now, of one of the characters, and yeah, and you can get some comics, you can get some sketch card commissions, all that. And the new campaign will be in April for the next.
Oh,
big
it's in
project.
April. Okay, I thought
The one that I was talking to you about, the big
Okay.
one. All those
That's
shit,
gonna be good. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. But thanks a lot, everybody, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I know I have another live stream, but I'm like a little out of it tonight to remember who I got to.
Sure.
I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot, Robert.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.